They gave me 72 hours to tear down my cabin. I tripled their rent. Instead, I don't usually lose my temper. But when a woman with a fake title, a fake badge, and a God complex showed up on my porch and told me my home, my hand-built cabin tucked deep in the Rockies, wasn't aesthetically compliant, I felt something snap. The cabin's name is Redtail. Built it myself over 3 long winters after retiring early from 20 years in the Wildland Firefighting Corps. Burn scars still cover my left shoulder from that Montana blaze in '09, but I'd rather face wildfire than bureaucratic arrogance. I moved here to escape it all. The noise, the petty rules, the crowds. I picked this ridge because it belonged to no one but the mountain. Or so I thought. Turns out someone decided to invent an HOA. They called themselves the Pine Valley Preservation Committee, which sounds noble until you realize it was 3 people who printed a logo, signed themselves president, and started issuing fines to folks who didn't maintain uniformity. And Karen, she made herself queen. It started with a letter. Then a second one, this time stapled to a fence post I'd split and set with my own hands. Violation number 1, cabin exterior, not painted in neutral tones. Violation number 2, firewood stacked improperly in visible areas. Violation number 3, satellite dish visible from street. Street, I'm a mile from the nearest paved road. I ignored the first 2, laughed at the third, but the fourth was hand-delivered. Karen came stomping up my gravel path in spotless white sneakers, clipboard clutched like a judge's gavel, and handed me a cease and desist order. "You have 72 hours to tear this down," she said. This structure was built without Pine Valley HOA oversight. I blinked. There is no Pine Valley HOA. Her smile stretched like a rubber band. There is now, and we're enforcing retroactive compliance. Behind her, 2 men from a landscaping company unloaded cones and metal signs. Condemned. Non-compliant structure. She wasn't bluffing. By sundown, they'd blocked my driveway with a truckload of gravel. I couldn't even get to the shed for my tools. Neighbors came by, some curious, some concerned. One guy, Dave, handed me a beer. "She fined me $600 last week for an irregular mailbox." An older woman, Maria, whispered. "They tried to ban my chickens, said they attract predators." Turns out, I wasn't the only one. Karen had turned her little HOA stunt into a power trip, levying thousands in fines, issuing threats, and claiming anyone who didn't pay was trespassing on community-managed land. Thing is, I own this ridge, not just the cabin, the whole damn parcel, including the private road they just blocked. And that's when it hit me. If they wanted to play dirty, I could show them what owning the land really meant. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was afraid, but because I was angry. You don't spend 3 years of your life cutting timber, pouring concrete by hand, bracing walls against winter winds, just to be told by some clipboard tyrant that your home is non-compliant. Especially when the land it stands on, 43 acres of forested ridge and glacial runoff, is deeded to you. Outright, at dawn, I pulled the file box out of my gun-safe original land survey from 1978, deed transfer from the State Forestry Trust, mineral rights confirmation, easement documents, including the only legal road in and out of Pine Valley. Yeah, that road. The one Karen had her gravel truck parked on mine. I called the county recorder's office and had the property lines reconfirmed. Then I drove to town and paid the extra fee to have my land plat reprinted and certified. When I walked back into Pine Valley that afternoon, I wasn't holding a hammer, I was holding leverage. Karen was in the middle of her usual sidewalk parade. She wore her PVPC badge clipped to her salmon-colored windbreaker, stopping every 20 feet to inspect someone's flower beds or glare at a poorly aligned mailbox. She didn't see me coming. "Karen," I said, holding up the map. "You want to explain how your HOA is issuing retroactive fines on land you don't even own?" She blinked, then scoffed. "You're standing on community-managed terrain. We're protected under neighborhood charter. Charter that was self-drafted 3 months ago," I said, flipping the map. "This land was zoned privately since '83, including that road you've got blocked, the one you just turned into an illegal dumping site." She paled, just a bit, but then the mask came back. You're free to contest it with our board. What board? You, your husband, and that guy who sells pine cones out of his garage. Her nostrils flared. The crowd of neighbors had started to gather, some filming, some whispering. I held up the certified plat. This cabin is legal. This ridge is mine. And your little HOA stunt just became a trespassing charge. The next day, I put up a gate. Not just any gate, a full steel ranch gate across the only road in and out of Pine Valley. 2 padlocks, security cam, sign posted private access road. Trespassers will be fined $500 per crossing. Contact owner to negotiate usage agreement. They thought I was bluffing until the mail truck stopped, until the trash company refused to cross without written permission, until Amazon started rerouting packages to the county drop point 10 miles away. Then the phone call started. Then the angry knocks on my door, but not from Karen, from everyone else she dragged into her little empire. Maria, the woman with the chickens, came first. She brought cinnamon rolls, apologized for ever going along with the HOA plan. Then came Dave. Then the couple from Lot 7. Each told the same story. Karen promised cleaner streets, higher land value, and a community free from clutter. What they got were fines, threats, and power trips. I listened, I nodded, and I offered them a deal. Access in exchange for testimony. They agreed. By Friday, I had 7 signed statements and over a dozen videos. Karen threatening homeowners, imposing fake rules, and instructing her board to file liens against properties she didn't even own. But the best part, one of her printed letters included a forged county clerk's signature. That's when this went from annoying to criminal. I took the evidence to the sheriff's office. Not the local deputy who occasionally waved from the diner, but the county sheriff himself, Sheriff Emmons, a man with a firm handshake and a long memory. He'd known me from my fire days. He listened in silence as I laid out the HOA documents, the plat maps, and the video recordings. Then he whistled. That woman's either a lunatic or she's laundering something. I raised an eyebrow. He flipped one of the forged notices around and pointed to the signature line. This clerk retired 4 years ago. Then he picked up a second notice, this one, with a fine attached to a single mom named Ruth on Lot 9. She's charging people for HOA landscaping permits that don't exist. I asked what it meant. He leaned back, crossed his arms. Means if we prove she collected money through fraudulent authority, that's wire fraud, impersonation, and possibly racketeering. I didn't say a word, but my jaw clenched so tight I could taste metal. Back at the cabin, I started digging deeper. Karen hadn't just bullied people. She'd filed lien intentions on 3 homes, public notices meant to intimidate owners into paying her compliance fees. But the addresses she'd targeted, they all shared one thing in common: border lots. Lots near roads, lots near water, lots near my ridge. Then I saw it, an old county zoning proposal, buried in a folder of scanned public meetings. Karen's husband, Greg Milner, had tried to push through a rural rezone initiative last fall. The proposal to convert parts of Pine Valley into a luxury eco-resort corridor, complete with private trails, modular cabins for tourists, and cleared parcels for quick sale. Who owned those parcels? Not them. But if the original owners forfeited under HOA liens, they would. That's when it hit me. Karen's fake HOA wasn't just a power trip. It was a front for land flipping. I printed everything: photos, signatures, hearing records. Then I called in reinforcements: Dave, Maria, Ruth. We met in my barn, cleared it out, strung up a projector, and built a timeline across the wall with tacks and yarn like a crime drama. Each red thread led back to Karen, each yellow one to her husband. And in the center of it all, a scanned letter offering pre-purchase options on 6 properties, none of which they owned. We needed to act fast. Greg Milner had scheduled a presentation before the county board in 2 weeks to reintroduce the zoning push under environmental sustainability. If that passed, the fraud would get wrapped in legal cloth and become untouchable. I reached out to the news. A local reporter from Channel 8 named Darcy Bitt. She came up the next morning, camera crew in tow, and interviewed 3 neighbors in front of my cabin gate. Each told the same story: fines, threats, HOA papers without signatures. Then I handed her the maps, the fake signatures, the video of Karen saying this is our land now. She didn't even blink. "Let's burn this down," she said. The story aired that night. HOA fraud locals say woman running illegal committee to seize land. Subheadline: fake fines, intimidation, and a suspected land grab scheme in Pine Valley. By morning, my inbox had exploded. Lawyers, reporters, activists. Even the county board issued a statement saying they were reviewing the legality of the PVPC, and Karen She locked herself in her house and shut off her phone. But it wasn't over. Not yet. A week later, the zoning hearing took place. We showed up with 20 residents, all in flannel, boots, and full-blooded mountain fury. I presented the evidence calmly. Maria wept as she read her fine aloud. Darcy aired the footage on a screen behind us. When Greg Milner took the floor, he barely got past the word sustainability before the board cut him off. "Sir, are you or your wife aware that you submitted false ownership documents?" He froze, mumbled something about good faith. Then someone from the back yelled, "Tell that to Ruth's kids, you vulture." They escorted him out. The zoning proposal unanimously denied. 2 days after the zoning hearing, a letter arrived. Registered mail. Return address: Pine Valley Pioneers. Committee the fake HOA's full legal name. Inside was a single sheet. No header, no signature. Just one sentence: "You've made a grave mistake." This is far from over. I laughed. Out loud. Then I picked up my phone and forwarded the letter to Darcy at Channel 8, my lawyer, and the county sheriff's office. I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Not when I had the truth in my hands, the land under my boots, and the whole town watching. 3 days later, I found the padlocks on my gate cut clean through. The steel gate ripped open. Security cam smashed. A pile of trash dumped at the base of my driveway, rusted fencing, beer bottles, a dead chicken, spray painted on my cabin's deck railing. In red letters: "Get out, rat." I took photos, called the sheriff, then took a breath I hadn't taken in years. The kind of breath you take when you realize the line's been crossed and there's no going back. That night, I didn't sleep. Again. But this time, I wasn't angry. I was focused. At 7 a.m., I filed a restraining order against Karen and Greg Milner. At 10 a.m., I sat down with my lawyer and submitted a formal civil suit for property damages, fraudulent liens, and emotional distress on behalf of myself and 8 other residents. By 3 p.m., the sheriff personally delivered a cease and desist order to the Milner's property, and by 6 p.m., the county issued a public notice revoking any and all documents filed under the Pine Valley Pioneers Committee. Fake HOA officially dissolved. But I wasn't done, because I had one more move. You remember that private road? The one that ran from the highway through my ridge and into Pine Valley. The one they paved over without my permission. I put it up for lease to a private campground company out of Oregon. They were thrilled. Needed access to the Forest Service land beyond Pine Valley. And guess what their offer was? $11,000 a month. Triple what most of Pine Valley paid for property tax. When I accepted the deal, I gave them 2 instructions: maintain the gate, install 24/7 security, and charge any unauthorized crossing $500 per vehicle. That meant if Karen wanted to get to town, pick up groceries, or reach her mailbox at the end of the valley road, she had to pay me every single time. Word spread like wildfire. People stopped me in town to shake my hand. One old rancher cried when I told him I'd included an easement exemption for all non-HOA residents. Karen, she lost everything. The fines, the court fees, the reputation. Her husband resigned from the planning board. She tried to sell the house, no takers. She even filed a complaint against me with the state and lost that too. And one day, a month later, I got a knock on my door. It was Ruth. She handed me a plate of cookies and said 5 simple words. Thank you for standing up. Karen moved out quietly one morning, didn't say goodbye, didn't apologize, but she left behind her HOA mailbox. I burned it. Justice doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes it wears boots, holds receipts, and builds gates. Tell me, when is enough? Enough. When do we stop letting self-made tyrants bully neighborhoods in the name of order? What would you have done? Comment your thoughts on justice, ownership, and the line between power and fraud. Let's talk about it, because if we don't, Karen will win somewhere else.